GM, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of If You Know, You Know. I am your host, Belle. Each week, I bring to you new, amazing artists, creators, people in the space that are really moving the needle forward. I am the co founder of Mini Wells and XYZ News. I host If You Know, You Know every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also host NFA with NFT Now. You can catch us every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today's show is all about art on Bitcoin. I met these two amazing artists when I went to Ordinals in Mexico City, Ordinals Latam to be exact, Latin America, and it was focused on a gamma collective with 10 different artists from Latin America focused on some of them was their first drop on ordinals, other ones had already done it, but it was all about their art on Bitcoin. So super tremendous welcome to both of you, tremendous Colombian, shout out to Colombianos, Colombian artists. Let's fucking go. Super proud to have you guys on here. Yusuf, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, and then Juan, you can go after it.
Cool. So, hello everybody. I'm Yusef Zapata. I'm a graphic designer and artist from Colombia. I've been working in my craft since 2021, I think. But I've been an artist since I could hold a pen in my hand. I decided to join the Web3 community in 2021, and I've been painting pigeons all over the world and making this connection with the Web3 community. And yes, that was my first. Um, Last month was my first inscription on Ordinal, so I'm really happy about that. What about one?
Hello, everybody. My name is Juan Salazar Hudasaca. Um, I am also, as Belle was mentioning, from Colombia, but I am from Bogota. I am a marketing specialist. I've been working in marketing for the past 12 years now, and I'm also a marketing professor at a university here in Bogota, in Colombia. I've been painting and doing art since 2018, and it's been a crazy trip, especially since I joined the Web3 space in 2021. And this is something I love to share when I talk about myself, and this time that I'm also here with Ju Zapata. And it was the fact that we went on to Web3 and NFTs because of like a fellow Colombian friend of ours that was exhibiting in Miami with us, and he told us about all of this, Fabian Buitrago. And fast forward 3 Doritos later, we are in 2024 launching our first collection on ordinals, and that's how we met. That's how we met in Mexico. So yeah, hopefully we can talk a little bit about that and what we've done, and also what's coming. Pleasure to be here, Belle. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure. I want to expand on that. I always find it really fascinating how a person even finds this space, right? You come from a marketing background, from an educational background at that. You're a professor at a university. How the heck do you end up in Web3?
That's a great question. I've always liked art. Like I've been pretty intrigued by it always. But then I moved to Barcelona, like 2016, 2017, and I was actually doing my master's in marketing and sales. Funny enough, I started seeing a bunch of the graffiti artists that I'd seen back at home, back in Bogota, in Barcelona, such as El Chupet Negra or even Pez Barcelona, who lives here in Bogota. So I was like, I've seen this dude. And yeah, and it's right there on Yusapata's wall. And I was like, oh, that's pretty amazing. And I met El Chupet Negra, and when he came to Bogota a couple months after that, he was like, yo, I'm in Bogota, why don't you come and hang out? And I realized that, I mean, I could also paint, and all I had to do now was I needed to get my art into the galleries. And so I did. I started talking to some gallerists, some really cool gallerists from Open San Felipe and neighborhood here in Bogota. They're super nice, super loyal, super supportive gallerists from Bogota, and they helped us to put our paintings on the wall. So I had my day job, and I started painting as a what I would call a hobby. But as I started professionalizing this activity, I started putting my art in art galleries and exhibitions here in Bogota, Open San Felipe, which is a great thing that happens in a neighborhood here in Bogota, which is like the art district of Bogota. There's like two art districts, but this is like the art neighborhood, if you may. Um, and they started doing shows, and people were coming about, and I started falling in love with this art world. And eventually, we had the chance to go to we had one exhibition in Bogota. It was called the Mickey Inspired Exhibition. That's where I met Ju Zapata. I'll tell you that story because I feel we have a bit of time. And then for that exhibition, I had a flight to Costa Rica, but I'd forgotten about it. So I thought my flight was the day after. And as I was going through this exhibition with Ju Zapata, it was the Mickey inspired exhibition. I paint a bunch of Mickey Mouses, so I was there for that one. I had to leave to Costa Rica, so even though I met Ju Zapata in that one, we didn't really connect there. And then later on, we went to Miami for a crazy exhibition in which we met Fabian Buitrago, and he said, "Yo, I take pictures of my paintings and I sell them through NFTs." And I said, "That's pretty interesting." I had heard a couple of people talk about NFTs prior to that, but I hadn't done like I hadn't been in it. I didn't understand what it was. I knew that it was there, it was out there, and some people were talking about it, but I had no clue of what it was. And Fabian Buitrago tells us these are NFTs, and I come back to Bogota, and I'm like, we have to get on this bus. It's like it's a need now. It's like people are talking about this. The conversation flows towards there, and that's where I got together with Ju Zapata, and I said, bro, what do you say? Should we go on to the NFTs and Web3 and all of this conversation? Ju, you want to elaborate on that? What happened after that?
Yeah, it was really funny because, well, as in that moment, like NFTs were about, I don't know, like a lot of things of you talk about technology, you talk about 3D art, you talk about like a lot of things that were outside of my world. I came from the agency world. I have an agency, a creativity agency focused on sustainability projects. That's my day job and my company. And yeah, I started drawing like digitally, and then I moved into street art. And when they told me about the NFTs and all this coming back into digital was for me like a step back. I was like, no, I just got out of digital to come to as a street artist. I'm exhibiting here in Miami. What is gonna happen if I go back into digitals? And Juan told me like, bro, you're ready. My art process is that I make everything first on digital and then I go to physicals. He was telling me like, you already have the digital sketches, you have the piece that is kind of perfectly done in digital. Why don't you try it? And I was like, man, that's kind of a no brainer there. I just want to make a little extra. So I use this technology to make my art into animation art. So I made really small loops about my palometas. There was a palometa who was singing, another was a DJ, and I just put him in a loop, like singing and playing the turntable and stuff. And yeah, that's I think how we started. And 1 month after that, we were in our first exhibition in Panama for the blockchain summit Latam in Panama.
That's amazing. Street art is an experience, if you will, right? The connection that I have with street art is actually surprising to a lot of people. But part of the reason that I even started with like the interest in building NFT Girl and the interest in art and NFTs was because my late husband was a street artist himself. He was a pretty popular graffiti artist here in the city where I'm at. And when I saw so many artists in the space, and I thought, wow, this is a tremendous opportunity to help others continue to do what he was doing, right? And the legacy of it. So I remember when I met him, he was having like art galleries and he was, art focus 1,000%. And in my experience, having like lived with someone, it's very much an experience. It's very much you go out and the search process of finding your favorite artist in the middle of a street in like a hard to find place. We lived in Chile for a year, and it was like a mission of his to make sure that he hit all of the street artists that he loved and that he knew had done something at these different cities in Chile. So we ended up going through like the different parts of the country looking for all of this. So the searching for it, the experience of being in front of it, the experience of meeting other street artists, experience. And so when you take a look at the transformation between the street art and the experience behind it, and then you move that into a digital art, which is something that you can't particularly, like, you guys have actual art behind you, but if we're talking about strictly ordinals or strictly digital art, it doesn't come off of the screen. There is no experience per se in which you can touch. There's no tangible experience in which you can touch it and feel it and take pictures in front of it and that kind of stuff, right? How do you get past that hurdle, or is it not even a hurdle? Either one of you.
No, totally. And I'll take the mic for this one because it's part of what I believe technology should do. If we talk about technology and the use we give it, it normally tends, or the conversation will guide ourselves to like alienating people. But in this case, I found technology really can allow people to come together. And all this to say that I use augmented reality in my work. So a bunch of my paintings have augmented reality, which we use with our phones, mostly on Instagram and social media. And with that, we share it. It's not tangible, but it creates an experience towards the artwork that goes further away from the screen, which is where normally we see all of these like pieces of art. You mentioned something that is so true, and it's the fact that when we talk about painting walls or painting in the streets, it's a different deal. If you go look for the artists you like, I've done that in many of the cities that I've been to. I'm like, no, wait, guys, we need to take a detour here because there's a Ju Zapata wall that we need to go see in Miami. And they're like, who? Ju Zapata? Oh, yeah, he's amazing. So we go there and we take pictures in front of it. And that's great. But at the end of the day, it all gets to our screen, right? So it's like our phone. That's where we share most of what we do. Most of the people that are watching us now are maybe in their handheld mobiles, right? It's like they have a phone in their hand. So I started playing with that conversation, and I said, sometimes if I have a painting in my house, if you're not here to see it, I mean, you lose the experience of it. And maybe if you come to my house, rarely a person will take a picture of a frame, like a framed painting. It doesn't really happen that often. Not at houses. It happens at art galleries. So I said, what if these paintings came to life? What if I scan some sort of QR code, or if I go to a Instagram filter and I scan over the painting and something happens, and people start sharing, right, into their Instagram friends stories or TikTok, whatever. And they like, hey, look, I'm at this guy's house and his artwork moves almost as if it were a screen or if it were alive. And I do believe that even though it sounds cliche when we say, oh, yeah, we have to paint stuff that goes beyond the canvas, that goes beyond the screen. And in this case, we tend, or at least try to do so with augmented reality, allowing the viewer to interact with our work, but also to share it with their friends and have an experience towards it. We haven't done it yet. I know Ju Zapata wants to say something about this with murals, but we have great news about that pretty soon. Ju Zapata, now you can speak, man. I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I think we are talking about a really interesting fact here. You can check out street art, you can take a picture of street art, but you can't own that piece, that street art that you were visiting. But you can have like a certificate of the property of that street art through Bitcoin, through the blockchain. So it's kind of some things that are getting into our fund, but the fund is giving you the authenticity and is capturing that moment in time. The street art is kind of difficult to visit because I don't know, maybe the wall broke down, the weather is going to damage the colors, or some other artists come and paint over and you lose your art. When you have this kind of art in the blockchain, you can have it like anywhere. It's yours. You can prove it anytime, anywhere. Like, hey, here is my copy of my digital collectible, and it's mine. So it's not like you took a picture of a wall and you say, okay, I painted this one. you painted it? No, I painted or I bought it. It's like impossible. It's a JPEG. With this technology, we are allowing people to own these moments in time, and also you can be like in many places at the same time. When I was with you in the event in Mexico, my piece, I was painting my live piece there. I was launching my first ordinal over there, and this first ordinal was at the same time showcased in Times Square. So for me, that was a unique experience, at like a three-dimensional experience that went away from time, from space, from a lot of interaction. So yes, kind of. And if you add to that the augmented reality part that Hudasaka is talking about, like you get like a really complete experience of art. And all of this is thanks to the digital interactions of our digital collectibles. Let's call it ordinals in this moment. As you are showing now, this is my second drop. It's the lilac-breasted roller. It's a beautiful bird from Africa that I wanted to portray in my palometa style. And it has been a really cool experience to explore this new world of ordinals. We've had an amazing time, and we are working really hard on getting to know, like getting a lot of eyes in Latin America from the Bitcoin communities.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't we? I want to get to the Bitcoin community, and I want to get to why ordinals and everything, all of that, right? But talk to us about your art. You do palometas. You call them palometas. Why palometas?
Well, I have two stories for that. Like the first story is why pigeons. My first digital art that was selected at an open call and published in a book of maps was a map of my hometown Cartagena. In that map, I did it with doodle style in digital, and I also printed and I started selling copies of the map, and was selected for a book that was called Where We Walk, where the places that we missed to walk around. And I missed so much my hometown that I decided to make this illustration. And this is the first one that I consider as an art piece. The first piece of like all my illustrations, I consider it art because it came from my heart. It had a lot of feelings from nostalgia to happiness. And in that painting, there were two pigeons, really funny pigeons that I drew. And when I went to my street art classes or mentoring, as I like to call them, they told me like I could be painting characters. And I was like, okay, I am really good making characters. I've been making characters all my life. I wanted to draw comics. I even sent letters to Marvel Comics when I was younger. And I was like, sure, but now what character could represent me, my essence, and something that I wanted to be global, not like a Maria Mulata, that is a really traditional bird from Cartagena. So I was sitting in my living room and I have my painting over there, and I look at it and I saw the pigeons, and the pigeons looked back at me at that moment, and they were kind of crazy. They had this street, iconicism. They are iconic from the street, and I say, hey, this is it. I feel like I'm kind of the opposite of the pigeons. The pigeons are street animals, like really street wise, like it's kind of a rat that can flies, but they culturally have been known for as a peace symbol, as a symbol of hope. So they have really beautiful connotations in the cultural world. So I felt like it was an opposite of my art story. I am a graphic designer who is supposed to be always behind a desk, and I want to be in the street. So the pigeons are coming to my I don't know, to my habitat, and I'm coming to theirs. So it's really a funny story about that. And the name Palometa comes from one of the first pieces I did was over a wooden popsicle from a store called Cielito in Winwood. They sell artisan pops, like paletas. So the piece was a pigeon over a popsicle, so it was easy. In Spanish, Popsicle is paleta, pigeon is paloma. So I mixed the two names, and the piece was called Palometa. And only that piece was called Palometa, but everybody started calling Palometa from that day on. So it was really funny because the people named my character after one piece. And I was like, okay, so you're telling me about the piece that is in a popsicle? No, no, no. I'm telling you about the Palometa who is playing in the turntables. I want that painting. I'm like, well, that's not the name, but it's a really cool name for the bird. That's good. So that's kind of the two stories on my
It's
Palometas.
I love that. And it's really interesting that you say that, the way that you explain that. In one of the things that we always discuss on the NFA show that I host with NFT Now is that part of why it's focused on IP, and we call it IP is Dead. Shout out to IP is Dead crew. Tune in every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So part of the discussion that we always almost like circle back to is the emotional connection that users end up having with the art that they collect, right? And it's not just from like traditional collectors that come in, but from people like me that once upon a time probably didn't even think that would be collecting art, right? That's for the rich, that's for the 1%, that's for the people that like live in mansions and have money to store them places. You don't really consider yourself as a collector. And a really interesting thing that happens normally when a person comes into Web3 is that they come in perhaps for other reasons. Like if they don't know about art, they come in for other reasons. They come in to make money, to, get into Bitcoin or other coins. They come in for other reasons. And then they discover via spaces or via expositions or via IRL, whatever. Then they discover that behind all of those, collections, PFP collections that are making people money, is an artist, and that artist has other type of collections and has a story behind them, and has created an IP, has created something that people then end up falling in love with, either the artist themselves or the collection itself, the piece, whatever it is that they're focused on, and creating an entire story behind them. And a lot of it boils down to the emotional connection that people end up feeling. That's what gets them there. That's what continues the story, etc. So I love that you said that they took it on and said, all right, that's Palometas, and that's Palometas like forever, because we want it to be. Right?
Yeah, totally. Like I'm like, okay, the people have spoken.
Yeah.
The name is gonna be Palometa. I didn't want a name that had too much of Latino, too much of like, I don't know, English names. So it
Yeah.
was easy to pronounce and stuff. And some people in spaces had told me like, hey, I love the name Palometa. It's kind of Paloma in a metaverso. And I'm like, well, that sounds also really, really fun, and it's really good analogy. But yeah, normally the most simple things end up having like the most like random significance. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Juan, I want to go to you next. You also have a character that is like crazy emotionally based, in my opinion, because I am a mom, and I am, a person that was a kid once upon a time, and I, have been exposed so many times to Mickey Mouse, and to see your art that is Mickey Mouse inspired immediately brings upon those emotions. So talk to us about who your character is.
Yeah, well, I don't only paint Mickey Mouses, but this is the way I've gotten to make a name for myself in the Web3 space. And the first rat I created just went nuts. It was sold out in like a couple of hours. And I was like, this is a crazy movement. The whole Web3 thing was pretty insane. But it basically comes from what you just described. It reminds us of when we were kids. I am Colombian, but I grew up in America, in Florida more specifically. And when you're 10, 12 years old, whatever I was when I moved to Florida, it was hey, Mickey Mouse is amazing, and Disney World and whatever. So it reminds me of my childhood, and I think it brings us back to a bunch of us. Of course, I do not only feel as a kid. I also like consider that, I mean, mischievous activity of kids and like trying to like do their own thing and have their own jokes. And of course, I'm a marketer. I've worked for like various companies, international companies. One of those being Philip Morris, for the like Marlboro, which is a pretty well known brand. And I put a lot of that into my art as well. Most people see Mickey Mouse and they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," but if you realize from the one you're showing now, it has a
Mhm.
little Marlboro roof in the head of it. It shouldn't, in a marketing perspective, but the way that we got to talk about prohibiting these products to the masses, especially to kids, was because kids were able to relate Mickey Mouse to Disney the same way that kids were able to relate Camel from Joe the Camel to the brand Camel cigarettes. So once we did that, and I, having worked in both of these, I said, why don't we create dissonance in marketing, doing art and creating those conversations that should be spoken about? For the, I would say for the quick eye, it's a crazy looking Mickey Mouse. For those that ask a bit more, they can actually find these attributes on that. Of course, I've taken that concept and I've applied it to other things. These are the smiling rats and the smiling
Mhm.
collection. This is a smiling um, Donald Duck, and basically the way I put him on fire, or like the world is always spinning. For the other AR that I use for the Mickey Mouse is basically how we smile even if things suck. You know, it's like we have to keep going. We have to overcome the challenges that we come about. And there's two options: either you do it crying and complaining about everything, or you try to smile your way through it and you try to live a happy life. So that's what I wanted to show in this smiling smiles collection, and like the evolution also of that mean looking rat, which is nothing but that. It's not supposed to be mean. It's more like a little kid that's trying to be crazy and do fun things. In this case, myself playing around with brands and doing a little bit of brandalism. So taking the concept of graffiti and like painting over things that we shouldn't do, I understand, and applying that to marketing. It's like, hey, what if we sell things the same way we don't sell them?
Mhm.
Don't you think that would change a bit of the society that we participate on? That's the deep connection about my work. But more than that, I'd just like to share like funny, crazy looking characters. In this case, as you're showing, Bitcoin Donald.
This
Was,
is freaking amazing. It's so different from anything that I've seen. It's super cool.
thank you so much. Yeah, this is basically Donald saying, "Hey, this thing is burning." Like there's fire, we got to do something. But I was so happy to bring this character into, and I'll like tell you a little bit about this collection on ordinals. And I have been talking to my artist fellow friends like, yo guys, um things have been changing so much in the late months here in Web3 space that I don't know where to mint anymore. I'm like, I don't know which blockchain to use. We started on Ethereum, then people kind of migrated to Solana, then some people did Tesos, and some. I'm like, yo, I like painting stuff. You guys have been talking crypto for a while. Like, hey, can we go back to just like painting stuff and like having fun about this? And then Ordinals comes about and they're like, hey guys, why don't you jump into this collection with 10 other artists from Latin America? And I'm like, are these guys listening to me? This is amazing. It's Bitcoin, which is of course, as some would say, one of the most recognizable or recognized blockchains out there. So it reduces a bunch of the barriers that we have in the crypto world. Like, oh my God, what is that? It's like, oh yeah, Bitcoin. I've heard for the past decade, so I guess it's like a bit more reliable. Maybe that's what people tend to say. But it also allowed me to like concentrate on just doing my thing. It's like art, and then I'll put it here where you guys know about it. It's like Bitcoin. Everybody, yeah, okay, great. Now I can go back to doing what I like. I don't. It's not like I don't like the Web3 terminology and all of that, but people are still very Web2. So if I start confusing them and like talking in different languages and just coming up with random words for regular things, maybe I'm just creating a bigger barrier for people to come in and buy my work. At the end of the day, we're artists. We want people to connect with our work and be able to buy it. But if I start confusing them, then maybe, just maybe, people might just fade away. And I say this because at that one exhibition or event we had in Panama a couple of years ago, a bunch of the crypto talking people would make jokes about Satoshis. And I was like, haha, I don't get the joke. So I went back to Jusapata. I'm like, yo, I don't get this, people. They've been talking, making jokes about Satoshi. I don't even know what that is. He's like, yo, that's like the smaller version or like the coins of Bitcoin. And I'm like, why didn't you just say that? Like, why do we have to have a different name for it? And they're like, oh yeah, this is too much for fiat. And I'm like, fiat, bro? What the hell? Isn't this cash? How do you call this? And they're like, cash. And I'm like, what do you call it? Fiat. Fiat to me is a car. You know, it's like, why we change, bro? Hey, let's simplify this so that people can finally join. And I think Bitcoin is through ordinals, allowing that conversation to happen. Yusapata, what do you say? What do you think about ordinals and all of this crazy stuff? Thank you.
Just like I would like to add that art is an international language, so you connect feelings with art. So it's really cool to have this technology adopting art as a way to communicate and to expand. Because right now there's another reason to join the Web3 communities or the I don't know blockchain space. You use like art, you use your feelings, you connected with some artist, you want to collect his art, and you can find it on different blockchains where you can become one of the collectors. So I feel like this is a really good way for collectors or for mass adoption.
We got like 95% of that, but your Wi-Fi seems to be a little bit dying on you. So if you can like maybe move, I don't know, we'll give it a second. But even your screen right now is a little bit blurry. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We'll figure it out. This is what you get when you live stream, everybody. Welcome to a live show. I find it really interesting that you would say that you would say that Bitcoin makes it easier for a person to adopt and to understand, particularly somebody from Web 2. I totally agree that, the complex acronyms and the complex names and all that kind of stuff that we talk is so confusing. I mean, it's confusing for us, people that are even in Web3 to say that you are an artist that needs to inscribe an ordinal. Excuse me, what? Why? And what is that? And so the language barrier just amongst us is like super high. And so to me, every time I guess there's two different ways to look at it. And I appreciate that. I think that that's part of the complexity of it. One simple way is to say, hey, because of the big words and because of, the extreme technology and difficulty of that we talk about, you have to have a digital wallet. It needs to be, you need to do it on your Taproot wallet and not, et cetera, like all these different things that are tremendous barriers to one person may be like, you know what? And I've had artists on the show, by the way, that are like, no, I'm not dipping my toe into ordinals quite yet because even I don't understand it, much less get my collectors to understand it. There's a price barrier. There's there's a cultural barrier that I'm not really understanding yet, et cetera, et cetera. But I like your perspective that's like, hey, when a crypto curious person thinks of crypto, the first thing that they think about is Bitcoin. Or, when they are just learning about NFTs or ordinals or what have you, the first thing truly that they think about is Bitcoin. So if you say something, that people already feel comfortable and comfy on Bitcoin because they think that is the safest and the best, et cetera, whether it's perceived or not, then yeah, I can totally understand why you would say, all right, well, dear collector, it's on the very popular blockchain that you think is, all of cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's my way of like seeing and understanding the market. I come from a marketing perspective. So since I've been doing this for a while, I'm like, no, I sell art on Ethereum. And people are like, this guy's weird. It's like, what? But if I say Bitcoin, now my dad's 80 years old. And he's like, oh, so you sell art on Bitcoin? And that's what I just said. Okay. I still don't get it, but I get a little bit more of it.
Get a little bit more of it. Yeah.
And it happens with a bunch of the things we do. I mean, if I talk it from a marketing perspective, every time we go to a sales meeting, to a production meeting, we come with our big ass words and just try to play it cool. It's like, oh yeah, market share. and KPIs and metrics, and people are like, yo, why are you speaking in English? Especially in like other countries, we do marketing in English. So we come in with our big words and people are like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Instead of just saying like, yeah, we need to make more money and we need to increase sales. And then people are like, oh yeah, sales we do get because that's what we do here. Instead of you talking about awareness and all these different words that at the end of the day make a lot of sense. Of course they do. But honestly speaking, people just want to buy art.
Yeah.
Some other people just want to make some money. Some other people just want to participate on the different activities that we have. They don't want to understand what the hell is behind a contract, an ECR 10, 115, 225, blockchain. Man, what? Oh, but it's like you inscribed it in a parallel. Dude, I just wanted to buy one of your rats. Why are you telling me all these things? And I'm like, no, but do you have your seed phrase? And they're like, what, man? Like, I have some money. Is that good for you?
Yeah.
And people have told me this. It's like, I have cash. Do you do cash? And I'm like, I do, because I come from a Web2 world. But the Web3 world doesn't do no cash, man. So we need to start translating those aspects. Zapata, you're back to HD quality and like.
Yeah, so you tell them like, all right, I don't get your fiat.
It's like, oh yeah.
And the conversation ends.
Hey, if you're gonna fix your internet to come back and make those comments, you can leave it off. No problem.
Still that?
You
no. I was just joking.
Show us your hoodie. And put you in the spotlight. Look at that. I love it. I saw it in Mexico and it was so cool. So cool.
Vuelta.
I know.
Oh. It has like printing inside of the hoodie. And this, like, we try, like, Hudasaka and me, we have been trying to create since day one, like a closer connection with physical goods, maybe physical paintings, physical, like you can paint all over, like whatever you want. Also merchandising, you have like a really cool Palometa hat, and all of them, they have this, I don't know if you can see it, yeah, like a QR code where you go straight to an NFT collection. So it's a really good way to show people that we are talking the same deal here. You want to buy art? Here's the way. You want to exhibit all around the world? Here's the way. You want to get to know people and artists from all over the world and don't be like chasing galleries to expose your art? This is the way. So I felt this Web3 space has given us a lot of opportunities to grow, and at the same time, a lot of opportunities to experiment with our art, with different people, to collaborate. We have made amazing collaborations. This collaboration here behind me, this is a Karol G Palometa painted. What? Yeah.
The Karol G?
The one and only. I mean, they painted it, and it's a Karol G Palometa.
Look at that.
That's the Bichota, Palometa Bichota. What's the name of it?
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, he muted himself. Jufo, you're on mute. But this Palometa was painted by Zapata and Maria Paula Alzate, a great friend of ours, also a great artist. And they combined mediums, right? You painted this with oil paintings, Jufo? Bro, you're on mute.
Okay. So we painted at the same time with oil painting and my style, that is street art, spray paint, and acrylic markers. We use my character because...
Show us again. I put you on solo. Show us again. Let me get show everybody your masterpiece de la bichota. There you go. Super.
Yeah, you can see like all the texture here that Maria Paula made with oil painting. And we use my character because like all the collaborations have to, for me, I'm not an abstract painter. So we kind of meet in the middle there. And the fun fact is that I met Maria Paula at this first exhibition of NFTs in Panama. So she was already selling her art on NFTs, her abstract art. And I just arrived with my Palometa we became really good friends with all the artists, but became really close with her style, her way to think and work with other more artists like Daniela Muñoz, Saint MG, Buitrago, Hudasaka. And yeah, I think this community started growing, and we created this kind of connections, and the connections were translated into art. This is our third collaboration, and they sell right away. I have this one as an NFT too, so it's a really cool way to show people like, here's the NFT. This NFT has a physical uh, interpretation or version that you can purchase by DM and stuff. So it's a really good way to make it kind of a studio piece. The NFTs become part of this communication of art, like an art certificate or a way to collect something that is not as expensive as the physical piece. A really cool way to become a collector.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really love that both of you guys do like the physical as well as the digital. Juan, I want to go to you. Show us what you got in the background.
Oh, okay. I'll show you a bit of this. I'm in my studio, so there's a bit of a mess. But I wanted to mention a bit of what Zapata was saying, and it's the fact that.
But you can carry the painting too.
I can do that, right? I can just go back. But
It's easier.
Es que tengo
that one is smaller. The problem is that the bichota is huge.
Look at that.
This is a 50 by 50 centimeter, so it's like 20 inches almost, a bit less. And you can see the detail. I like playing with like a bunch of different mediums and acrylics and markers and so on. It just has a lot of detail. This is Smiling Rat's Cat. I hope you guys can see the influence of Jean-Michel in my work in this one. And I just love that one. And then the one in the back, I can't bring that one down, but that's with Luco. And we painted this abstract kind of like art exploding man that has been blinded by it's a head. And it's blinded by art and it just explodes like with Luco's abstract flow, but it also has little Mickey Mouses on it, like pasted onto it, so it brings out the piece a bit. But Zapata, I did want to mention that we do play, of course, on Web3, on Web2, and creating those bridges, but allowing the conversation to ease up is basically what we've been trying to do ever since we joined the Web3 space. It's like, hey, let's translate all of these crazy things that we're doing into something that people can actually achieve. So, and like artists can make use of, and also new collectors. So we try to ease up the conversation through Zapata's merch, as he showed us. You get a QR code, boom, you're already on NFTs. If you got the hats as well have a QR code, boom, it will send you directly to the NFT collection. If you buy ordinals and you buy one and it's only 10 pieces or 9 editions, whatever, one of those editions is like a ticket to get the physical piece. And easing the conversation, it's like, oh, okay, so I can get the NFT, but I can get the physical? Yeah, of course. So it's, for the Web2 people, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Funny enough, for the Bitcoin people, it's like, oh, so you guys do physical pieces as well? It's like, yeah, that's what we're physical artists. I mean, we paint. And they seem to value that a lot. So all these digital transactions, which I love when we get to ease the process in the sense of like having the main like people that you need to talk to. So if you go into ordinals, I'll tell you like open an expert's wallet, go into Gamma, right? Because these are the actors that we start seeing that start creating this community activation. It's not just it's because these people are creating things alongside with the artists. So we start creating these connections, which I love. And hopefully at the end of the day, that connection happens not through only the benefit of it, but as you mentioned, the emotional connection to the people behind whatever you're collecting. And I think that's a key part about all of this, and is how we have used these platforms, digital platforms, digital galleries, virtual galleries, and all of these different opportunities at the end of the day to create a name for ourselves so that people can be like, oh yeah, I know that dude. And they can either like the rat, which is great. That's a part of like purchasing things that you like. Or they can also connect emotionally to us and then decide to support, to share, to like, to save a post or whatever. At the end of the day is the connection or the community that we create by bringing new things to the community and not just waiting for the community to give us something in return.
I love that. I was going to ask a question and I feel like you already answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case there's something else you want to add to it. And in as it relates to merchandise, a lot of people just say, hey, freaking everybody just wears hoodies in Web3, right? Like it's just merch. Why is merch more than just merch?
Well, I think my merch, I don't treat it as merch because my merch has my artwork on it. So it's not just like creating a brand, it's creating a little thing that goes even further. I am my merch is limited editions, so I treat them as my art, and it has one of my this piece was exhibited on Times Square on April this year. This is called Love Pool, and this piece has a lot of meaning, a lot of love, because I donated this one to St. Jude Hospital. They made an NFT collection, and I used this piece, and they selected this piece. So it's really cool because I now can wear this piece as a part of my looks. So it's not just simple merch, like to promote a brand. I feel these are unique art pieces. I make like small certificates. Here says original piece for the hat. So it's kind of a unique hat. This I paint them one by one with spray paint. So I try to make all of them. I try to make the merchandising to become unique as an art piece.
That's dope. I love that. So you make it with all of the love behind it, right? That's important.
Oh, and sorry, one more thing is that my merch is made here in Colombia. So it's really cool because I'm supporting people from different parts of Colombia. The hats are made somewhere, the t-shirts are made in other place, and the hoodies are made in Corozal. That is a region in the north of Colombia that is not well known around the world, and it's a really good way to showcase their work. I know also Hudasaka has something extra for his merch. He used them also as a channel for his ARs.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I feel merch. I love merch. I don't know if it's because I'm a marketer or not, but like getting pieces that are limited edition because they were only launched for that specific period of time. Like merch is always very limited. One doesn't think of it that way because it's something you give away most of the time, like free merch. But the other merch is the one that like you can only get from the artist himself or that you can only sell to direct channels. It's like a signed print, you know. We sell prints now on the Hug and you can buy them everywhere. But getting a signed print from us, it's like a cooler thing to get. You know, it's like it's very limited. So we started playing with that, of course, with the quantity and the amount of print of hoodies that we take out, of shirts that we take out, of hats or whatever. Even the cans are very limited. They don't get these. I like that Yusapata adds a bit of like he would like customize it on his own, and that's pretty cool. It adds to like this is a very unique piece. What I do with my collections is I launch maybe 24 or 36 pieces depending on the sizes, and they become like very limited. I launch them if I go to New York, which the way I like to use this merch and is the way it actually came up to me is I like to wear my art like as for myself. It's a way to promote it. But then I started doing this, and people were like, "I want your hoodie," and I was like, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense." So I started making more, and then I made white shirts, like white tees, comfortable white tees that you can wear repeatedly, especially for like the events. So I branded them with my brand, with my art. Ju Zapata helped me design like the shirt and all, and then people were like, "I like your shirt." So I started seeing that it was a way of me having like clothes to wear for my own promotion, but also people saying, "I want that shirt, I want that hoodie," and the fact that it has AR and tag to it, it's like killer. People love that. Even the people who make these garments, they always tell me it's like we've never done that. What do you mean you get like Mickey Mouse comes out of a shirt? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then people who wear shirts now learn about AR, basically our art, and eventually that conversation ends up in NFTs or ordinals or whatever. So it's just finding different touch points so that our strategies are not just focused on one thing, but it has like a 360 view of both collectors and what we do as artists.
Love that. Not to mention the provenance of it, right? Of being able to track it. I want to switch gears just a little bit to talk about marketing because, I get to the great pleasure of talking to a lot of artists, and a resounding barrier to a lot of artists in the space that I continue to hear again and again is that artists have to wear so many hats in order to be successful in Web3. And one of the ones in which they innately do not normally have the experience in is the marketing. And so what they realize is that in order to be successful, unless you're like, one of made it big for whatever reason, but the normal trajectory of an artist is that you have to learn how to promote yourself, you have to learn how to market for yourself, you have to learn how to be visible and how to stand out in a crowd, and you have to learn the power of algorithm, for example, and do all of these things that don't take you away from your art, take you away from the craft of actually focusing on your art, but you have to learn all of the other stuff in order to be successful. I would love to hear your opinion on that from the marketing perspective. Like, what has helped you, if you could give maybe one advice, to an artist of like, all right, here's what you like, if nothing else, you got to focus on this because you're an expert, and that is rare to have a marketing expert and also a digital artist come into the space.
Yeah, I would have believed it was easier. When I worked in marketing, it's mostly mass consumption, and we have a bunch of money, and we have a recognized brand, and people actually need it. It's food, it's drinks, it's shoes. I've worked in many different industries, and people normally need these things. But the art industry, nobody needs a painting. So it's way different. We part from a different perspective of marketing. And I've never sold myself as a product. So that has been something that I've been learning as well. Of course, there's theory and stuff that we can apply to our cause, and which I do, but the best advice I've gotten from somebody in these last 4 years, which sounds kind of dumb, is one, you got to believe in yourself. Like, I'm not an artist. I didn't study to be an artist, but I'm an artist now. So now I believe it. It's like you got to believe you're an artist, and that for me is very important. Sounds very like trivial, but it's not. It's like you got to believe in yourself. And two, at least for me, it's helped me a lot. Just do your own thing. Switch the camera. Artists tend to show a lot of their art. That's cool, right? We would love a world that resonates only through art, but people want to see you. People want to see the person behind it. And that, I think, has been a great way to connect. I'm not like the most massive guy on social media, but I like to have a very active community and posting always like cool things. And I like to try to at least differentiate myself with that. It's like do things that are different and that caught people's attention. But at the end of the day, and I say this with a bit of ego to it, I do this shit because I like it. And if there's people that follow me, that's really cool because I want more people to have fun with me. Like Zapata, I'm like, yo, you guys, you want to paint? And he's like, yeah, I want to paint. Okay, that's great. And that's why I do it, because it's fun, because I've met great people towards doing it, and because it's what I like to do. And I feel that when people do what they like to do, it's always great. It always resonates with others. It always inspires other people, because it's like, hey, these mother lovers, they're doing what they want to do, yo. This guy's painting freaking palometas, and he's making a name for himself. This guy's painting Mickey Mouses, and they're adding AR things to their work. And that's what they do, and they're traveling around the world, and we're like, yeah, it's pretty dope. And I think that works. I think that resonates with people, just doing what you love. And if you really love what you do, it's like, it's free. It's like you would do it either way. I know Zapata can tell us a lot about this from his loving way of seeing the world. But also, if you meet Zapata, you're like, this guy is funny. Sometimes that's the first time I say that. Oh my God, this is recorded. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
but he's funny. He's got great vibes, and
remember when you said that I was funny?
It was a joke.
Yeah, it's recorded. But yeah, I think my advice here would be to be constant. People here just see these like the high names, you know, like the big names, and they are like, okay, but like, I don't know, like Sabet is doing this and doing this. I'm going to join the NFT or Web3 space. But when they come here, they see there's a big universe here. So the first part is come here with the expectations only to meet people, to enjoy your time, to make connections, not come here to sell your art. Like this is the worst promotional advertising place in the world. When you come to a space and you are hello, I am Ju Zapata from Colombia. I paint pigeons. People are like, no, this guy is here making his sales pitch. No, it's better to come here and connect. To if you are at a live event, go outside, hang out with people, take some drinks if you like to drink, do whatever you want. Like you are coming here. This is like a cool school where you are going to meet people who talk about art all the time. So are people like what else do you need? It's only cool people, and come here to meet cool people. Not come here or not try to come here to, I don't know, earn money, sell your things. Like that's kind of my advice on that, and consistency to come every day to say hello. It's like a cool school. If you are a cool kid in a school, and you say hello to everyone, and everyone say hello back to you. In the moment when you bring your candies to sell, people are gonna be like, I like this guy. Let's try his candies. I don't know. People here in Colombia, they'll sell candy in the school, in my school.
In your school. Yeah. I love that. No, I really, really like that. And, you know, I've seen it so many times with myself of like, I end up falling in love first with the artist. And sometimes I don't even know that they are an artist. I have no idea that they, you know, have art and that they're selling it. And it's one of those like secondary things of like, you're such an awesome person for XYZ. And then it's like, oh, and you do art, let me check it out, you know? So, yeah, I super appreciate a person who's willing to go a little bit deeper than just the superficial, you know, selling of oneself. So, yeah, I think all of those points are excellent. Guys, it has been such a pleasure having you on here. How can we continue to support you? Juan, you go first.
All right. It has been truly a pleasure, Belle. Ever since we met in Mexico, you hosted our space. You have like think for this. You're good at it. I really enjoyed my time here. Sadly, it was with Ju Zapata. I'm always with him, but well, it's the way it is. If you want to follow us and help us out, I come out as Hudasaka or Judasaka on Twitter. What do you call this? The lower dash, whatever. Shoot, I forgot.
Underscore.
Underscore art. But if you type in Hudasaka, you will get me. The other person who has Hudasaka is also me, but I lost that account, so now I can't reach it, and now I'm Hudasaka art. But if you go on Instagram, I'll be as Hudasaka. We have art on almost every chain, but lately we've been promoting our second drop on Ordinals, which is these guys over here. Get your Experts wallet, whatever other wallet you have. Get to Gamma, type in the Art Cartel, and support not only me and Ju Zapata, but also our good friend Luco, who's not here, but we're going to meet him later on today. And that is a Colombian Art Cartel. Thank you so much for having us here. You'll see us around, so make sure you stick around to see what's up. Ju Zapata, where can we find you, brother?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitter X, um, TikTok, LinkedIn, and on the Hug, you can find my merchandising on the Hug. You can find now physical paintings. I now can sell physical paintings through the Hug, so it's really cool for that part. You just write at Jusapata 3SC. That's my handle. But only with Jusapata you will find me. The best way to support an artist is, of course, collecting his art, promoting his art, helping helping his art reach different people. I feel this is kind of the easiest way in Web3 to reach different regions. I've been exhibited in Belgium, Australia, Japan, like a lot of places that I haven't been able to travel, but my art has traveled for me. So I feel this is kind of a really good way to support artists, to be in touch with artists, and yeah, the art cartel is here to stay. We have a new collection on ordinals on Gamma. We have or more collections. I already made like a listing of my pieces on Foundation. It's a really cool collections of one-on-ones. The Bichota one-on-one Carol G is right there. So check out and help us share the word that the art cartel is here to stay.
Nice. Perfect. Beautiful. All right, guys. It has been, again, a true pleasure to have you guys on here. You are always welcome. Juan, next time we'll just have you and not you. I got you. I got you.
Totally.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks
guys,
for kicking me out. And thanks, Belle, for having me here.
It's been a pleasure. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us. Next time we get together, we'll have to do like a, what did we drink last time? Mezcal. That shit is strong.
Really strong, but I really like it. But I hope for the next time we could drink some aguardiente.
Yeah, I was going to say next time aguardiente, please. I mean, that's strong too, but I mean, Colombians, how could you not, right?
Yeah, we're used to that.
Yes, absolutely. Hey guys, if this is your first time tuning into If You Know, You Know You Show, I do this show every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every single week, I bring to you new artists, new creators, new builders, new founders, etc., of people who are really moving the needle forward. If you are an artist and you've been watching this show, hit me up. I'd love to showcase you as well. Also, check us out on Miniwells on our account, miniwells_.io. Why? We just posted something that we're building on why artists. You got to remember that, Miniwells, the genesis of it was NFT Girl, and all we have put our heart into has truly been uplifting and helping out creators and artists in the space. So everything that we have ever done with Miniwells has been from the ground up in thinking about how we can continue to help and support artists. So if you're an artist and you're watching this, or if you know of an artist, truly check us out on Miniwells. All you got to do is just pop a little whale on the chat. So do yourself a favor and do that. And love you guys. I will see you guys next week for another exhilarating conversation on If You Know. If you didn't know, now you know, baby. See you guys next time. Bye.